I even heard like there's an ETA on when, you know, for quite a while now.
We just got at the museum a little iPad like this, in the back of the room, and record. Last month it was 5 women. We got every single word you could hear, plain as a bell. Last night it was Norma Werman. We put a microphone on her, but that little tiny iPad, the picture is beautiful, the sound is beautiful. It was $1,000. How can you go wrong? I mean, that probably cost $10,000. You know, we need some little iPad.
That's right.
There we go. All right.
We ready? Ready, boss? That's their biggest picture. How we getting?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay.
Everybody's sharing it.
Call the meeting to order. Park Commission meeting, October 25th, 2023. Jill, can you please do roll call?
Commissioner Lloyd Graycheck,
Here?
Commissioner Ingrid Kohler. Here. Commissioner Sue Springborn. Here. Commissioner Sarah Zradka. Here. Commissioner Artie Alvarez.
Here.
And Laura is out today, and Cassidy will be coming soon.
Okay, so we have a quorum. Motion to adopt the agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Sarah makes the motion. Second. Ingrid seconds. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approval of the minutes of September 23rd. Motion.
Move to accept the minutes.
Sue makes a motion. Second.
I'll second that.
Ingrid seconds. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting open to the public. Any Zooms? Okay. We don't have anybody in seats, so off we go. Park rental policy recommendation.
We are going to change the agenda slightly. We're gonna let, Dan go
Oh,
first. So we are jumping down to the CIP review.
Okay. Sounds good.
There's a page within the book that we should reference.
Well, don't worry, I've modified it.
Okay.
So I've added a couple of other
Thanks, Dave.
components in here for you, but I'll walk through everything with you. So basically, I was here earlier in the year. We were kind of talking at that point in time about, you know, how the budget process goes. And part of the budget process is the capital improvement plan. So I kind of want to report back on where we're at with the budget. We'll use that information, and then where we're at with the CIP plan, the capital. Where we're at. Some of it will be good news, some of it won't be good news, but kind of let you hear everything about that. Open it up for discussion, questions, answers, suggestions. It has not, neither the budget nor the capital improvement plan have been approved by City Council. That will happen in December. This past Monday evening, the City Council got to review the CIP and complete this form with all of the department heads who. So you're the second commission that gets to see CIP, make comments onto it. Whatever comments that you have, you know, back to City Council. So just kind of want to walk through everything. First of all, want to thank you all for, you know, for your time. Mission is very important. Parks are very important and an integral part to the city of North St. Paul and for the residents. For service. I've modified the agenda a little bit. I've added 4 items up in the front. I want to kind of give you kind of an overall transparent view of the whole budget process. So starting off with what their 2024 budget goals were, the capital improvement plan process, the park CIP changes from the original request, and I am going to hand out a complete 24 to 33 parks-related CIP. What was included in your packet were only the request items that were related to park capital funds and the park dedication funds. Everything else. And then we'll just kind of quickly go over the Parks and Recreation funding, operational side to it, and then kind of want you to go through and look at this CIP and make any comments or questions faced. So our 2024 budget goals were develop a balanced budget, and we do have a balanced budget for our general fund to minimize the impact to residents. Unfortunately, that's a very difficult task for us to do. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of needs in the city. We've had, there's great. And I took over as the finance director when they made the 20 budget because of the impact, the unknown impact of the budget. The impact of COVID was unknown. So they made a number of staff cuts, brought in a 0% levy. Anytime you do a 0% levy, you pay for it down the road. So every year, in my mind, and then working with the manager, we develop kind of our goals of what we're trying to accomplish. So for the 2023 budget, my goal, that was my first full year of the budget, and took over the. But being my first year, my first goal of 22 was to get staffing right. So we, the wonderful person who's sitting here as our community development director, department, so forth. This year, it was trying to correct some of the infrastructural needs. 3 categories that there's a lack of funding for infrastructure. And I think we can drive through the city of many of our streets are in bad. And parks, I believe, mostly underfunded. Good evidence of that is approaching. So my goal this year was to try to start to get city council to understand the need, be able to start to put issues. Now I'm playing with a lot of parameters that I've got to play with. One of them is debt. I'm going to show you the next slide of where the city debt. Save my comments on that. But as far as the streets are concerned, if it was in 2020, the city made the assessments. Special assessments is a revenue source. Helps offset the bond costs and the cost of streets. That can equate to anywhere between a loss of 20 to 40% construction costs. Where's that supposed to come from? Well, it's going to have to come from another revenue source that you can. And so I've right now I have in our levy, and % of that would be dedicated to develop the plan of keeping our same level for all 10 years. These 2% each are dedicated to streets. The other component was parks, based upon what's been submitted in the parks. And again, I don't believe it's a complete picture of what the park needs are. 3.55 levy increase every year for the next 10 years. To accomplish this, I started setting things in place last year. That is, you don't know what your funding needs. You don't know if you have enough money or you don't have enough money until you start planning. And when I came here, there was not a complete capital improvement plan. The real only plan that was really developed on any lengthy period of time, 5-year plan. Last year, developed the first comprehensive. This year, we put it into a software to make it look better, easier to present, easier to run reports, and then have a consistent approach where all department heads have to fill out what the project is all about. It's easier for our residents, easier for you on commissions, and for a councilman to be able to understand that. And again, last year, in addition to the capital improvement plan that started, as we developed 10-year financial plans. What you do is you incorporate operational costs, you incorporate your capital improvement costs, you make a number of assumptions of what you decide, your expense side, get out, and you're going to need additional money. That's how we came up with these streets, parks, facilities. So one of those parameters that I was talking about that we had to play with is, see right here, 2023, our debt for the city was almost $1.4 million. That's more than Arden Hills, Little Canada, Lauderdale, Gem Lake, Falcon Heights, Ennis Heights put together. That's that we're in right now. To continue to go out and bond and continue accumulating that debt is going to hurt us as far as hurt us from going out and actually bonding, because our bond rating is higher interest rates, a higher cost. So I always use kind of just a rule of thumb for conversation. I go out and bond $1 million, 5% interest rate, cost me in debt $80,000 for that. So for $1 million today, it costs us, the residents, 1.6 over the next 20. That's where if you start to accumulate money through the levy and building it up, we can start to pay things with more for our money. Unfortunately, the burden goes on to the property tax increases. That's the plan that's been developed. How that the city, I cannot say enough wonderful things about city needs. Tremendous job. The council member who sits on this commission has been a very strong proponent. Make sure that Parks is at the table and Parks was getting some sort of a levy increase. And there's more work in the future to be done as far as from the levy, be able to fund future. The 2024 capital improvement plan process. Department heads submit all of the requests, do the write-ups, put in estimates. Finance compiles it all, and we software able to prepare the reports a little easier, present it in a more professional manner, able to give you information. Last year, I developed for the first year, I developed an Excel spreadsheet. Wasn't too easy to read. I could read it, but, you know, for others, it was difficult to read. We didn't have descriptions, which is very important for, our department heads and those who are working, and carrying out these projects. When we have any type of staff turnover, no one knows what the heck was meant by the little 5, words that described a project. So that's very beneficial. Department heads, review, the complete CIP before final. All the department heads in the city together, we look all at the whole CIP report, made adjustments to it. Some things went out, some things, future years. That was all done before it was actually submitted. Reviews the CIP, they did that Monday night, made comments, suggestions. At the end of the day, they're truly only approving the 2024 because that's the fund budget, but they have the, you know, whole plan gets approved. I always look at a capital improvement plan is that it's a living document. It's meant to change time, it's meant to change on a continuous basis, but the basis of it should be solid. Numbers may change, you may years. I'll give a that. We have equipment in our play, you know, life cycle. Out on the plan to be replaced in years. However, you know, it could come year 8 or year 9, and it's in great shape. There's no need to replace it, and it'll end up getting pushed out further. Maybe all of a sudden we're having equipment that all of a sudden parts are becoming complete, and we need to turn on the. But we should be able to identify all of our needs. Facilities need help. The plan is incomplete. The items that's on our CIP for that is to assessment, hire a firm to come in and needs that we have, safety, exterior to landscaping, facilities. Hopefully we'll have that incorporated into Parks and Recreation Commission. City Council knows, and the Planning Commission. And finally, in December, City Council will final review and approve. Changes from the original request. What I mean by original request was the department heads. That Housing Park project increased from 100,000 to 462,000. The greatest part to that is because dollars and state grant they use that came in to include prevailing wage because we were local, which city does not have a prevailing wage requirement. So make you take an act very similar to prevailing. Every time you include some of those other components to it, so we saw some of that. Department heads made a decision based upon your plan. Parks related to CIP. They moved the downtown parking and green space. That may eventually be City Council changed general fund to the park fund for the fields planning in downtown. Part of the reason for that is originally shown in at that point our levy would have been about approximately 5% levy increase. Made some adjustments, I increased revenues, so we could get it down. And due to funding, there was the North for 2027. That's where the plan has it. Get more in detail in that. Questions? This is your actually park related. I want to pass this out because this has absolutely everything of where we're sitting at today. What was in your attachment was again only related to the park capital fund and the park dedication fund. This will show you everything that's park related. You'll see on there that it has funding that's from the general fund, funding from street maintenance fund, and the funding from the park dedication fund, and then funding for the parks fund, development fund funding, and then the budget. So I'm going to table that for a second. We're going to get back to that. I'll just kind of go through the rest of it to kind of talk about. So my understanding from an operational standpoint, whatever was requested from this commission has been incorporated into our operating budget. So like the general fund pretty much takes care of a lot of the grounds maintenance for parks. Building maintenance fund has facilities, janitorial cleaning, maintenance items that contractual maintenance items that need facilities, all in the building maintenance. Community event fund has related to events that and I've got an. And the park dedication fund technically does not have a budget that is approved by city council. Required to have a budget that's, and there's the park fund. City council has not actually seen these budgets. They will be seeing these they will see special funds. Here's the community event fund. See that there's money that's available. What it includes is all of these. For that, sorry, didn't want to show. These were a part of your attachment. Let me try to.
So the one you handed out to us has street maintenance fund on it. Is that just general for like city sourcing, or is it relative to the park? Like our park funding source?
No, it's not related to your park funding source.
Okay.
Street maintenance is a different fund. However, there's park related items that are being funded out of there, like the KC Trail, sidewalk along Boulevard.
Is that, when you say McKnight, is that all of McKnight, or is that near McKnight Field?
You actually would have to read the backup.
Okay.
That's requested. Again, we compile it. I don't know all
Yeah.
of the details
No, I was
of all of
curious.
the project. But it's not out of the park funding. The only things that are coming out of the park funding is where you'll see on the first page where it's got 034 Park Dedication Fund
Mm-hmm.
and then 063 Park Fund. But I wanted you to see that there's other items that have been submitted that are park related that are being funded.
So a few pages back, you had that there was the general fund of the park fund for And a couple other things, what are those?
Planning, some planning studies that they had recommended,
Oh, okay.
so
So
that.
that'll come out of park funds then, instead of the
Yeah.
general fund?
which in turn brings down the levy for the city.
Right.
So this is what was submitted to me that's incorporated in the community event items that are on here. I think it's First Commission and that's incorporated, and then to my knowledge, everything else that was operational standpoint. So it really comes down to that, we get that capital plan. And so in your attachment, there was their park dedication fund. This, what we've done for virtually all of our funds is to do our 10-year finance. Park dedication's pretty full. There are no revenues that we can actually make, because the park dedication is derived upon comes in and they pay a park fee. There's not any moment, but there's no predicted. So we can't identify a revenue. Capital plan itself will show that for Lizzie Park, that $255,300 to come from this park education fund is basically fund balance that is fund balance.
The park dedication fund, that's the source that comes from new builds, like
Mhm.
the one time.
Yeah.
There's already a tennis court there, so I know we're building it new, but, so we're still considering that we can take the money from that fund to use for something that already exists.
Yeah,
It's a complete reconstruct.
yeah.
I guess just in my thought, that money was supposed to be set aside for, we were spoken very eloquently about that it needs to be new, like enhancements, like things that don't exist. And yes, we're improving it, but to me, there's already a court there and we're making it nice. So to me, that's not something new to the city.
No, I think you make a very good point. I think hopeful, but it really comes down to your interpretation. So I will not
Yeah.
argue with you on that, because I can look at it both ways. You're absolutely.
It has to be completely removed and
Yeah.
started over, right? That's why they're saying.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like
Because
it
it's
can be
a-
refurbished.
I
It
guess
has to
my
be
gut
taken out.
behind that was that money was in my head, and I don't make all the decisions, but in my head, that money was being put aside to build something and improve something. And my thought is, if we're getting all this money from these buildings that are being put up, then we need to put something in that improves all the people we brought into those buildings. And it, ball court to me isn't, I guess I didn't think what that money should be used for. And I thought we had enough money in our park fund to pay for that separately. Because to me, I'm like, I thought that money should go towards a downtown park or to a McKnight Fields enhancement or something that is like providing the community something. Not that anyone's ever gonna know where the source comes from. I just hate with that, for that source to be dried, because we're never gonna get more money in that dedicated fund, because we're out of space, probably once that apartment building gets built, right? So you guys decide what you do with it, but I just would hate to deplete a fund.
Could I read the statute? I was just looking at.
Cash payments received must be used only for the acquisition and development or improvement of parks, recreation facilities, like open space based on the approved park systems plan. Cash payments must not be used for ongoing maintenance or operation, parks, facilities, playgrounds, trails.
Maintenance would be like wood chip.
Right.
And,
So I think we're clear for this project.
I think we're clear. I just think ethically, we are maintaining that site by taking out something that is unfunctional. So to me, it is a maintenance project, kind of. We were making it better, but we're not taking out a tennis court and putting in a skate park. We're taking out a tennis court and putting it in a tennis court,
Putting in,
a pickleball court,
Yeah.
which is also,
yeah. Yeah.
but I don't want to spend all night on that. It's just,
Oh, I,
Which
I,
probably
good,
sounds
very good.
yeah.
Very-
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's allowable underneath statute, I absolutely
Yeah.
where you're coming. I mean, you know, I think, you know, technically, you know, when you go back to it, you know, the statute was, this was that they were giving you, park dedication funds because they didn't put parkland on their
Yeah.
site development, and so you should be putting it somewhere.
I guess
But
my
not-
fear is that, like, that allocation of money is something that is protected strictly to parks, and we have not spent any money for the last 3 or 4 years in parks, so to me, I felt like the money we had accumulated from the LGA grant was enough to pay for that, which is why I was one of the people who said yes. I said no initially to that pickleball court, but I said yes because I thought that money was coming out of there. And my fear all along has been with debt, with city things, that LGA fund that we have built up by not spending anything is going to get depleted by other sources in the city, and we can't get that back to improve parks. Even the levy will take a while to help replenish that. So it's just my thought. 'Cause it'd be good to see too, what is that money left in the, like, park fund that
Oh,
we
we're
have?
gonna see that next.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna see it next. And so the bottom line to it is, which is and I stated this earlier, and you're gonna see it, there's not enough money. And that's the issue, and that's where we're starting to build up that levy. It's by 5 now, reducing at this point in time, we're not that plan. Hopefully LGA, yeah, I mean, for years, a lot of discussion, LGA is gonna end up going away. Due to the fact that there was a couple of dollars left at the state, budget cycle, they increased LGA across the board. Paul was a recipient, $84,000 addition. So, hoping it's a good sign that, you know, they're rethinking and that local government does need, learning and start again. But there was a lot of talk, you know, many years that, hey, I think made the decision to start to early pull it away from the general fund, and they would put it into a special fund. Education fund. Stop that after they didn't. Years, but they were rationing it down so we didn't have that, or the park fund. But we'll take a look at the park fund too. And what you're gonna see is that if you don't wanna use this money here, then you've got a gap in the park of that $255,000. I mean, you certainly could do it for, 2024, but I'll show you. So this is the park fund. Now, this has a little bit more activity into it because it has some revenue sources. So you can see ad valorem taxes, that's basically levy. And you can see that, you know, 0.55, increase on an annual basis accumulating. 0.5 percent levy here. So in 2024, it's 36,072 and so forth. You can see that we're, at least from our projections, that we're holding the LGA, which is underneath the integral.
Can you help me find that?
$100,000.
I'm sorry to
Yeah, what
interrupt.
page is that?
Can you
Page
help
32, I
us
think.
find it
32?
in the new one?
In the big-
No, it's in the old one.
In the old one?
It's on-
Okay,
I'll-
thank you. Page 32. Yeah, I would love a page number. Okay. 30. It's in the new one.
It's in this one.
It's in the old
this one. Okay,
Mhm.
Yep.
okay, thank you. Oh, I found it. Thank you.
Yep.
Up.
Then the other revenue is park rental fees. We're estimating them. Then on the expenditure side to it, and we infuse the capital from the capital plan, park fund. What your working capital is, even by the end of the year period, you know, on our target of minimum working capital of $50,000, it's below that. I mean, greatly, but I mean, this plan is pretty tight, but what it's really showing is that capital improvement plan that's in front of you, that's the best that it really do at this point in time. Funding source. And the parameters setting that are, it's not going to be a recommendation unless some funding additional debt. So our revenue source that we're going to have to do is to slightly increase that levy. So to answer that question about the park dedication, if you take that 255,000, take it out of here if you would desire, and we'll probably end up having something out someplace. Tough. It's a tough situation. Like I said, there's some good news and there's some bad news. At least, you know, again, 3 years ago, there wasn't any plan. There wasn't anything being discussed. There wasn't any additional funding coming in. Now, at least the point with the support of the city council, that we're actually starting to put some dedicated funds in the levy to start addressing the need. So hopefully we outperform in other areas that we can actually maybe transfers and make things that much better. Right now, this is our crystal ball of looking at things and kind of the needs that have been known. And I'll be the first one to say it. Earlier, what's in our overall capital improvement plan, what's in this is not comprehensive. Document, it's going to get for more stuff. There's a number of planning documents that here. Go and plan something, usually ends up resulting that those costs aren't included in it. But at the end of the conclusion of the CIP with the city council on Monday, bottom line, and I said, okay, 10 years total, $79 million worth of. Let's play a little game. Everybody, is the true number going to be higher or lower? And it's going to be higher. It will be. But we can't do anything in moving forward unless we identify through capital plans and identify the needs that are there, to find out what that gap is and come up with a finance plan to be able to start to. And that's where I'm so proud of the city council. Opt and forward with. So at the end of the day, they're increasing the levy 3%. Well aware that it probably is gonna go up high. But
Yeah.
say that there was a pretty much a good support.
Oh,
Yeah,
hands down, this is
absolutely.
the good part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a couple questions. I'm terrible with numbers, so you'll have to forgive me, but 653 is what we have sitting cash at hand for, in the park board fund at the moment, or at the end of 2023, correct?
Correct.
The 255 is separate from that.
Correct.
Okay. And then the Casey Lake building, back when we had allocated out of the 100 LGA that we took 60 a year out of that to pay for that building. I thought my understanding it was in 10 years, it was to be paid off, which should be coming up shortly in the next few years. Is that the case, or where are we at with
No,
that bond?
we've got it going out at least to 2033, so. But I'll do a double check on that.
Yeah, I thought it was.
No, it's just the three of us. I'm like, it's just the three of us. I don't think it was 15, because we had to agree on that. Like, we were taking 60 grand out of the 100 grand a year we got
Yeah,
to pay for that building, and it was 10 years. It would be paid off, because it was $1 million. It cost us $1 million. Grand came out of that, and then we had money up front to chip in towards that. So if we are, I would ask the question, how are we getting off paying an extra $250 out of our budget out of that?
No, don't go all the way there.
Yeah,
It'll be looked into.
okay,
If that is the case, then it'll then be backed off, which then
yeah.
you have some additional
Just-
money.
That's just my understanding. I mean,
No.
we were not in any of the numbers, but that was like the sign off, because it was a big deal for us to sign off to get that building, to give away more than half of our funding a year to get. And that's why I remember being like 10 years, that's reasonable. We've done a lot of parks. By that point, we'll need to replace playgrounds and stuff. But
So we'll look into find, whatever resolutions that I can find, or any documents that I can find.
that would be great. I can't remember, the building was 2016 maybe, so it'd be 2026. That was my understanding, but I can't remember. Yeah,
So definitely, if that's the case, then some of that will drop off.
yeah.
I just know that the debt goes out further than that, but that would explore if there was a sub agreement.
Yeah.
That's part of the thing. There's been so much turnover even in the finance department and
Yeah.
the documents, are hard. So I'm glad that you brought this up. 'Cause that's what this is all about, to everybody's eyes, reviews, we'll make adjustments.
Well, and that was our understanding too, is with 653,000, that's more than we've ever had, because we haven't spent any money in the last 4 or 5 years. But to me, it made sense to spend the 200 something out of that 653, because I didn't, I know predictively we're going to spend money over the course of time, but guess if it's where you guys are taking it from. I was told from the previous mayor that like the 653 is a number that could be taken from council or for other debt in the event that things go bad for the city. And I guess what I'm trying to do is protect what we can protect, which is that park dedication fund, because I know they can't take that to buy police cars or to do something else. And I'm not saying that's what you will do with it, but that's just my caution, is that when we get a lot of money, it can look tempting for other sources. And I just want to make sure that that stays in the park. And I understand that nobody wants taxes raised, nobody wants, but I also don't want things taken from the park, and I just worry. But if that's where you guys have to take it, I'm not in any way financially savvy, but I just.
No, but that's where you also have a voice in Parks and Rec
Yeah.
Commission here, is to say, this money needs to stay here so it doesn't, because at the end of the day, it's one.
Yeah.
It's just one big fund.
Yeah.
This is where, if, for that sake, looking into that loan, if it's supposed to be 10 years, then it needs to remain 10 years.
Oh,
And it's
absolutely,
coming up in,
absolutely. And
2
so-
years.
And so that's definitely, if that's the case, that's an error on our side, and we'll take that up.
Well, no, that's all right. We just,
But-
there's a few
but-
of us left now, a few of
Tell
us
me where
elders
that
left.
is.
Well, so typically we get the 100,000, and then what I'm not seeing, I don't know if it's this transfers,
Yes, it is.
but it was supposed to be 60K a year would come out of that
Okay.
100. I don't know what the 80 is, that might be for other things that he's projecting down the road, but, yeah, so then it would be deduction, so we'd only be netting 40 typically.
Okay.
And then any revenues, typically, that was like gray area, so we would get a little more from that.
Definitely would look at that, and by the way, you are pretty good with numbers.
Yeah, I know.
And your whole logic behind the whole thing is absolutely, crystal clear, because more restrictions on the park dedication, what you're saying is there's more restrictions on the park dedication funds. If I give the park, city council can't take that money.
I am extraordinarily passionate about a downtown park, and I will not shut up about it until it's done. So,
Nor will Tim Cole.
yep. So my goal is to protect the funds, and I could see I haven't been here that long, but I've lived through other people that eventually when money runs out, then those projects dry out, and it would be harder for us to ask for a bond for that, where I know we have the money sitting here to pay for that football court that we agreed to. But to make sure that when and if the time comes and we're going to get more money from that building, the apartment building, that would be a good chunk of money to build a pretty cool downtown space or McKnight space or whatever when that comes, which would be new and cool and a really great way to explain to taxpayers, like, yes, you got this apartment building, but look what it helped fund. I'll feel a lot better about saying that money funded this great thing that these people get, and we have put in a lot of new people and a lot of new animals and children, and that money should go personally to build something for those people. But I'll get off that. Laura would tell me to pull it down. But yeah.
I love the
I know.
dialogue.
You're
We know
okay.
it's there. But yeah, that's
Is
my
that
intent. But
something we can?
you guys
put this-
decide. I won't die over the horse on it.
This is
my,
a financial plan. And so if the bottom line is, if what you're stating is correct, and which it does end at 6, then I'm not good with numbers, so I'll look. I think it would be 7 years after that.
I really can't.
That was a-
I promise.
It was
I'm a
so-
fashion designer by trade. I really
No,
enjoy it.
Sarah, the
So
funny
you-
thing is you're
You're doing one heck of a great job, that's
good
why.
at that
It's just
number.
like, oh my
I
God.
laughed. It's to
So-
myself when you said that.
So then it would be 7 years of that, of what's showing there as a transfer would be
Great,
removed,
yeah.
which is enough, then you could throw the 255
Yeah.
in and move it away. Absolutely. If that's what we find out, that's done, it's a done deal. It gets modified in the budget, which city council hasn't even seen yet. So, don't even need to explain it to them.
Well, let us know what you find out. I really thought it was 10 years, but I feel like we wouldn't have agreed to 15. I just feel like
Yeah, I don't
that
remember
felt right.
the actual number.
No, I'm glad.
Because I think Nancy was the one who was the holdoff, and I think she was the accountant, and she's like, 10 years, more than that, we'll need new parks and stuff.
You
And
might even remember.
she probably would remember.
Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic. So absolutely, we'll look at it. It's not too late. It can modify. We're just showing the plan. If that's the case, what I'm hearing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if that's the case, the 10 years, which I will communicate with both Brandy and Jill, and they'll get the communication. We will then move that 255 funding source, park capital versus, and so then there will be nothing at this point in time to come.
Cool. Fingers crossed.
Well, I think that's.
But I remember.
Very, very, very
Debatable.
Very good. Oh, no,
That's important.
it was very important.
We derailed at council. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and that's another question with Dan. When we sat there, we were talking about garage doors with
Yeah.
the police department. So I'm gonna derail here for a second. And there is some not functioning, barely patched garage doors. But we're putting it out a few years. And why are we putting a garage door out a few years when it should be done like next year, like 2024. So I mean, there's stuff, and this is the purpose of going over this plan, is to say, hey, this is put out for the next 5 years. We really need to reevaluate this and put this, in the next year or two. So it's good to derail. It's good to, that's why we have this discussion, is to really look at this and what was budgeted. Push back.
You have to realize, you know more of the history than I do.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're bringing up these points, it's going to be, we're going to look into, and we're going to make. I thank you for know, again, I go back to a capital document all the time. And I do want you to know, as long as I'm here, I would never, ever, ever suggest I'm coming after the park capital fund for
I
anything.
appreciate that, yeah.
And that's part of the reason, and I think a proof to that is that you've heard me say it, city council's heard me say it, parks need additional funding.
Mhm.
And that's where we've come up with at least 0.55, which would like to have seen more.
Mhm.
Member Schwer can testify that that's been my motive behind it. Again, in my mind, I have a successful budget last year because we got staff, this year, infrastructure. Next year, infrastructure, until we get it to where I think it should be. That's kind of why I look at things, and I'm committed to that because up and bringing these pieces up, so.
Well, and again, like circling back to what Dan said, Dan didn't know about this.
No.
Council's new, it turns over
Mhm.
every 2 years, so we don't know about it. And it's people like you all that have this background that knows about it that can put you. So don't ever apologize. We need to know about this kind of stuff, because if we don't know it, it's not going to be
Yeah.
seen.
No, this is, great discussion. The last piece to it is if you want to take a moment and look through, and I know that I've given you the full complete, I mean, you had in the packet just what was coming out of park and park dedication, but you get to park related, which is general fund, street maintenance.
What about the sidewalk? So I need to show up at the council meeting next week to complain about a sidewalk I want to before they start budgeting.
Well, that one, I think.
There may
we're
be
only
other
on one
sidewalks,
meeting in
I'm only
November.
showing you park related type.
Good, I like sidewalk. Not
But-
Silver Lake area, but they.
But again, if there's, if, even after I leave, if you, within the next, week or so, have suggestions and stuff, and you want to put it off to Jill, look at it, we'll bring those comments forth to, also, we still have time. CIP hasn't been approved. So your comments, are very valuable. Please do so. Look it over, make sure you're comfortable with it. At the end of the day, want to be able to say to city council that it's been reviewed, and supported by.
Forward.
Mhm.
10-15, Nancy. It might be wrong when then, Nancy, test of this. Things would just get done and never happen.
Really don't think city council, Dan and Mary Lee put all this together in the software. We wouldn't be able to view this kind of stuff the way we are. I know.
Personally, thank you, because this is a huge step forward.
So part of the goal that I'm trying to improve upon for transparency, awareness, is making sure you've heard me say this. I want to make sure that our city manager, I want full disclosure. We want the city council and everybody to be aware of where we're at, and let's work together to be able to find the funding sources and make the right decisions forward. And I realize, and I do lose sleep over it. I don't want to be known when I walk out the door that I was the finance director that kept raising everybody's property taxes. I want to feel that I put the city in a better position. And I think that's what we're doing. I can't do it alone. I need the commission. I need your thoughts, your ideas, your inputs, all of the staff that is in the city, and then ultimately it's city council support. And I have been very fortunate. For some odd reason, actually listens to me, and I don't know why. I haven't figured that out yet.
I don't have a choice, I'm new.
Can I just ask one last thing about the project funding and and like estimated cost?
Yep.
So for the McKnight and downtown master plans, which are probably next two biggest things we have coming up. They're estimated for 60,000, which seems, I don't know what these things cost, but in the past, it was about 10,000 for us to do one. My question is, like with McKnight, like we've limited space there, and I feel like 60,000, I mean, I don't know if that 60,000 has to do with, you guys can tell me if that has to do with, I don't know, like surveys of the land and what's underneath it, or, because $60,000, like, we've barely spent $60,000 on like a playground before, and I think about the downtown park, like, it's 30 feet by 50 feet, looks like the space I just looked up, or however, it's not very big, so it's been $60,000. That might be part of a bigger plan for the downtown, but I guess I would just ask what that's, I get that if I were you, I'd gauge higher than lower, but my thought is, if that was closer to what it had been in the past, let's even go higher at like $16,000, $17,000, we could do both of those next year, which would be great to move up the downtown one from 2025 to 2024, to do them both at the same time and have a bigger discussion about where maybe we're not doing downtown until 2026 or something, but just doing the plans early to get that understanding. But I understand why you have to push staff at 60. That's a lot of money. But then I'd ask, that just seems like a lot for a park that may not cost.
And plans are expensive. I don't think that the 10,000.
But I guess my thought is, do like McKnight Fields, like we know the space, like.
I have reached out to landscape architects. That we can't afford the plan.
I didn't know if we like had, I guess that's my question, it's like, downtown it makes sense because it's tighter space, it's probably gonna have to work around a lot more things and people. With McKnight, it's like we know the space we have. If we're saying parking lot, playground, skate park or something like that, do we need to pay 60 grand to do that?
I think we need to figure out a broader idea of what the scope of services is.
Yeah,
And so without having any understanding of what that definition means,
yeah,
a master plan,
yeah.
I was gauging on the
Yeah.
conservative side. And I really think that what we're gonna need for McKnight and the amount of analysis that is gonna be necessary in terms of who are we serving, how are we changing that? We've got a couple of tennis courts there and some parking lot that maybe needs to be modified.
Yeah.
It's gonna have a lot of public outreach involved. So I think it's gonna take at least.
And that's included in that cost, like.
Yep.
So let's put it this way, that, let's say that you get proposals that are less. There's nothing that prohibits you know, those additional funds that an item comes before you move up. There's nothing that stops that. Again, it's always an ongoing living document, so I mean, it can be changed. And for planning purposes, with what Brandy has put together, leave it at that 60,000 with the caveat that if it comes in less, then get that downtown done too.
In terms of the downtown plan, I do wanna bring,
Your screen is on the set, if we could really. Yeah, the sharing, exactly, that's what we meant, thank you.
Thank you.
bet.
the downtown park master plan that's in here is for a specific address, and I don't know if this is intended, if this is a bygone conclusion, and if that's the location of downtown park, but this address is that triangular piece.
Yeah, I was Googling that earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, by the VFW.
And so we'll get into our master plan discussion in a little bit.
Is it by the VFW or is it at the corner of?
I didn't know we had across the street, so it's between those condo
Yeah,
little and the
right there.
VFW, yeah.
Okay.
So I would consider maybe this document, this planning document, maybe a little bit premature in 24. It might be something out in 25. That's the the comprehensive park plan that we're working on now. The McKnight, I think, is,
Yeah,
That's-
yeah,
but given the amount of staff available to work on these documents and the Well, and also, we just don't have all of the facts available right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we would even begin to, next year, it'd probably be very, so it's just something to consider.
Yeah.
That passive park, $40,000 plan, you know, that, I don't know what that'll cost. To make it,
It is a passive park.
so this is a recommendation from our redevelopment master plan. There's a number of city lots that are across the street from M&I Homes on Third Street. And so it's, it was recommended in that document that a park be available, but not an active park, so not like playground type of equipment, but more
Green space.
green space, but it's,
Exactly. Benches.
yeah, like walking past, something to that effect.
Which would be a great benefit to the M and I homes.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they bring
You
their
know,
dogs
place
over
to go,
there,
yeah.
Does that include the lot on the corner, the empty lot on the corner of Seventh and
Well,
by
it
M&I, or is it
possibly,
just the strip?
just the strip, I think, but anything that's city owned, all adjacent.
Oh, so the city does own that lot, I didn't know.
It's a number of lots
So
that
this
it's
is like
not
a
been-
new
Right on
park?
the corner.
It'd be a passive park, so
Green space.
essentially, yeah, green space, and what they would do is they take down all the trees
Sure.
and develop it as a green space for individuals with M&I homes, maybe some of the condos, walkers, all the areas becoming. Well, it wouldn't be called a park because it, I mean,
Amenities.
it won't have park amenities. Hence the,
Call it a park.
hence the passive.
Sure, sure.
I just wanted to point those out.
No, sorry, I just wanted to understand.
However, to much it to Parks and Rec Commission, it is at our advantage right now to hold off for the downtown park until, the new apartment.
When is that scheduled to be done? When did they, is it
He
next?
told me, I talked to Jim the other day, he said it'll be,
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know.
I mean, that's quick. So, really quick, but it'll help develop an idea of what are the needs right now.
What are the people,
Yeah, especially with Sentinel and then,
I
the new-
saw it the other day too.
yeah.
Oh, Article 7.
It's like there needs to be a prohibition
very-
bar at the
yeah.
bottom of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I hijacked your presentation.
No,
Well, I've
it's-
only
it's
heard
really-
discussion, so I.
It's really up to questions and discussion. Follow, and again, I'm look through it if you have any questions.
So what it wasn't explained in council and how this was developed, at least in my department, I went through all of our existing, but all of the things that here. So we have our comprehensive plan and we also improvement plan that had some cost estimates for some specific works. Those are included in here as well. And we tried to align those as well as we could with years that they were anticipated to have done per that park improvement plan. And I believe, if memory serves, percent. Again, you know, once we get our long-range plan done for the parks, inform some of this. Again, this is a living document. Sure. Leanne, ready to
for
go?
Dan?
Any follow-up?
Dan should stay here for the rest of the night because he's been working late all week, so we're just gonna make him stay.
Oh, thank you.
Want to do?
I do want to stress, though, as a representative with council, we really do need to get, somebody once a year to present on behalf of Parks and Rec, to give us an update of where we are, what are the priorities, and maybe that's in the beginning of the year.
We
Well, we did that.
We did
You
that.
mean the update?
did like a
We
yearly.
should do that in December.
I'm new, you gotta give me grace.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. That's a
But
good idea.
it went away
I
with
mean,
COVID,
Yeah.
Okay,
amongst everything else.
right.
We just plan to do it in December, like, we can talk about it at the November meeting, just like, make sure, choose the meeting and then
Jill
we can go.
and me and whoever else wants to, for that meeting, we'll just make a presentation. Really useful.
I know that the pickleball courts is a hot topic. Where are we at? That kind of stuff. I'm getting some, I have one specific community member that keeps reaching out. Where are we at? When's this gonna happen?
Mhm.
We're gonna bid in January.
So, good to know.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, he's stoked about it. He has all kinds of clubs and whatnot.
So it should be done in the summer then?
Hopefully it'll be done in the spring.
Oh,
Nice.
wonderful.
That's the plan.
Tell your friends. Tell your neighbors.
Mhm.
And then your guys' needs, wants, and desires. It would be great to just have that and put it out there.
Well, and part of that is all developed through this comprehensive park plan that we're working.
So you're saying that the housing pickleball courts are they already on it, some contractors list to start?
No, we have the money in the plan identified, we've got the grant funding, so now we're gonna have our engineering consultant go out to bid for the project. He recommends January. At sometime in the, right after the snow is melted.
Depending on
Because we have to legally, like,
Mother Nature.
post
You have
the
a-
bid to like,
An urgency, it seems like you, like that earlier.
What's not gonna happen?
That will happen, that you'll start it. But if there isn't a contractor right now for spring,
Should we check with Morgan?
I mean, I asked Morgan what his recommendations
Sure.
are, and he deferred to,
that would be great.
I
Be
can
very
verify with them that. to
I
check
would,
on
I would push that further now than January. If you want to, in somebody that says, yes, we will start breaking ground. I'm not even on jobs that big, I'm already. Most
No.
contractors that are doing that are already booked up. I'm not trying to be negative, I'm just like,
Well, that's
Yeah.
good to know. It's good to have your expertise.
Oh, thank you.
hire you till next spring. No, just summer.
He's your specialty in that, right?
yeah.
There goes
Any
my
other-
project.
Any other questions for Dan? Comments?
Thank
That was
you.
really good.
Thanks, Dan.
Well done.
Thank you.
Go home and relax.
Yeah.
I plan to.
We'll see you at the next commission meeting.
Anytime you want me to come back, I certainly will. Questions that you have, I'll open to it, please. No, I mean, it's a living document, it changes, any input you give, that's where we learn.
Yeah.
Where I get ideas from, and again, I don't know why city council keeps listening to me, but they're listening.
Oh, that's good, they are.
It's because he's so nice to us.
That's good.
Oh, yeah.
Great support, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Brandy, maybe Morgan already has someone in mind, and that's why he
Well-
knows this already.
Legally have
We
to
have
go
to,
out.
we have to put it out to bid,
Oh.
so
Yeah.
I'll check with them tomorrow and see if he can do it soon. Is it okay if we jump into this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, where do we want to jump to now?
We are down at the, park and open space plan.
So I think you guys have been wondering what's been going on with this project. It's been a few months since we've talked about it. And it's been a staff-led project primarily, and without the help of consultants, it really does take quite a bit of effort and time. It's difficult to find time to sit down and focus on data and get the writing done. But we're working on it, and this is the first, I would say maybe 20% of what I envision this document to eventually be. So what is a master plan? I've never actually worked on a parks master plan before, but I've been involved with companies that have. And I've worked for cities that have had them. And so it's a very comprehensive planning document, much like a comprehensive plan that provides the policies and goals for how we want to build our parks over the coming years. So this really feeds directly into our our capital improvement plan. So it gives us that 10-year or plus roadmap for how we're gonna meet the needs of our city's population. It helps also to qualify us for funding opportunities. When you have a plan in place, it shows that you're serious and committed to WISE plan. This is just a little graphic I put into the plan. One of the key reasons for this is so that we could take a critical look at our facilities and ask questions about, are they still relevant? I'm thinking about McKnight Field. We've got tennis courts out there that are defunct. So clearly, we need to do something about that. We need to figure out what is the most relevant for our population to replace it to meet their needs and priorities. And are we investing the appropriate level of resources into them? So again, this feeds into our capital improvement plan. We are looking at our goals and we're planning for the future with both this policy document and then. But I just kind of stole this graphic because it's a pretty standard planning process. So generally, I don't know why that box didn't move, but you would have your project kickoff and initiation, which is basically you sit down and you do a ton of research, you find out what other communities are doing, you find other model documents, and you kind of build a template for your own. And then you do your outreach. So we've done some outreach over the course of the summer. We put together a community survey and the results are it. We had staff at a couple of events over the summer, the car show and the music in the parks. So we've done a little bit of outreach, but so far all we've done is this online survey. We also take a look at census data in the American Community Survey to pull demographic data to get a better understanding of who we are now, where we've been. So our population is growing, and then after that, we also take a look at our existing systems, create an inventory of what we've got. Interpret all of that, and then we move on to developing what is the need. Cram it all into one final plan document and then bring it to Parks Commission. And so we're kind of at that first two. Describing what we've done so far. So we've done research for the plans, a hard look at our park improvement plan, and a lot of that information is still up to date and relevant. So just pulling it forward and just kind of plopping it in there. And it's document. And these are the outreach activities that I. So one of the things I wanted to ask this group is, we've done a survey. What else should we do for community? Open that up to discussion. We can do that now, or we can do that at the conclusion. Because I have another ask too. So if you had a chance to read through the document, there's some statistical stuff in there pulled from the census. And what I found is we are a community that is becoming more diverse. So we've got a lot of new residents coming in. We have racial groups. We've got 13% have reported a disability. We have a lot of interest in making sure that our parks clients, foreign-born residents, and household income is 71. And again, we've built a ton of new housing units in the past. We have a definite need to provide. We're also looking at our long-range plans and evaluating them for treat parks and what are the goals. How can they inform this document? So the next steps, so going back to that like planning, what we need to do imminently is the system inventory. And if you look at the document, an inventory / assessment is what I'm, maybe I'll pull it up on the screen. This is great. How do I stop? Well, I can't seem to manage technology and meeting, so let me paper version. So in the park planned, near the end of it, end of what's been provided so far, start talking about the park here. And I believe I started with Casey.
Oh, wait.
Yep. So we've got a description of the park, you know, some nice comment that somebody made about Casey Lake specifically.
I really like the font you used in this document.
And then we have, what I'm trying to develop is this matrix. And so I'm pulling this information from a variety of places. So I started with what was available in the park improvement plan. And it didn't seem to be fully inclusive. And I'm also pulling whatever I can from paper files or any other documents that I can get my hands on that are park related. But I would like to understand, what do we have in the parks? If we can figure out when they were installed to get a sense of how old they are, if we can. If not, we'll have to do with that information. And then also get an understanding of what is the condition. And then I would work with Ron to get a sense of when is the improvements for a fishing pier, for example, or hockey rink. So what I'm asking for help with is getting these, at least the amenities written down to see what's in each park. So it's going to involve somebody going to the parks, filling in a grid. Gotten two done so far. Casey and Silver.
Some of these, I think we can answer at least some of your questions.
Yeah.
If you want to do that later or now, that's up to you.
Well, this would be a project, this is kind of a more intensive project that I want to take a
It'll be a
Yeah.
meeting time, yeah.
Yeah.
But the other question I had was related to, reach. So some ideas. Well, first of all, how do you feel about conducting outreach? Do you think a survey is adequate? Do we want to do
No,
more?
I actually think a lot of people are just kind of don't want to take surveys. I just, when you said that earlier, I was thinking, I've always felt like my neighbor and friend does daycare, and she always has the best ideas for parks because preschoolers and, you know,
Mhm.
so she knows, she's an expert. I'm thinking kids are the, you know, I think a good way to get feedback is engage the youth, you know, like, I mean, this is, you know, just a general idea, but, from little ones all the way through high schoolers. What if we had an open house where we're like, the Parks Commission would like to talk to the experts? You know, we're a bunch of adults, so we would like to talk to the experts about what they want to. And of course, they're going to say things like a pool and a this and a that. That might not be practical,
Mhm.
but they might also come up with what they're really passionate about, like a zip slide or, you know, I think I said this before, and we had made it up with a zip slide, which was pretty popular till it broke, right? Broken, I think, now at Housy.
Line?
Zip line, yeah. But anyway, I mean, so we weren't thinking zip line that much, but
That was Kelly's passion.
Kelly, yeah. So anyway, I think that might act at like an event where you're inviting people to City Hall or an open house, and it's one specific time, and you've got maybe some pictures up, or,
Mhm.
I would say we have done community events in the past, and we've done it specific around a park, so like Casey, and we have people
Mhm.
building, we've done Silver. We used to do it before our park meetings where we engaged feedback in the summer. I will say what happens to those particularly is people are very passionate about a park,
Mm-hmm.
So Casey, they have opinions about fireworks or kids in the park.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say what I think would be best is to choose a already public engagement. So maybe it's the car show, maybe it's the fall festival, maybe it's one of the truck nights, something that we're already doing that's going to bring in public. Because it's hard to get people just to, like, you've got to really care about something to show up, and usually that means you're complaining about something,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I feel like if there's a way, as we think about the events that we're doing next year,
Mhm.
to catch almost like a survey as part of that. So let's say it's either getting a night at the car show or getting someplace where we're bringing people in, and if the fall show's a little late, so you may not want to wait that long, but something else, food truck night or something. Or if we do a movie night or something.
Holiday Hop,
Holiday
a
Hop.
great idea.
We had,
What is Holiday Hop?
the Holiday Hop.
A winter,
Oh,
it's a December sort of.
It's
Which
December.
that may be pretty quick to like go
Yeah.
together, but yeah.
well,
Or the fire and ice, or something where we're gonna have a good amount of the community come out. I would say the only thing is Holiday Hop is a little bit more, like I always bring my kids, I don't usually come by myself. The fire and ice is kind of you bring kids, like the fall festival is really good because that's a lot of adults without children, people with dogs, like something where we're getting a bigger audience, people that aren't, because I was reading those demographics and you really only got 1/3 the population has children. So
Mhm.
you think about 2/3 of the population doesn't have kids, like we shouldn't be asking people with just kids, like we need to be asking people without kids or
Yeah.
who are choosing not to have them, who are older adults. I say if we can get like some way to build that in and like have a booth, have something fun, I don't know, have a
well, 2
wheel,
years ago-
have a wheel and
Oh,
say,
yeah.
give us some feedback
Yeah.
or tell
2
us.
years ago at the Holiday Hop, we had over 100 people come into the museum alone.
Wow.
Oh, great.
Now, last year we only had 60, but it wasn't as well planned last year. So, I mean, I'm gearing up, I'm gonna have 10 staff people there because I think we're gonna need it because, unless there's a blizzard.
The other
But-
thing I think that's been successful too is like if we're doing something specific like McKnight, like you said about like the skate or something else where we're talking about, is when we know something specific, like a space, then it becomes more engaged, like come out and tell us what you think. 'Cause when we built Janie's playground, we did that. We had this park is decrepit, here's what we're thinking about building, and we filled this room
Yeah,
with people
yeah.
I didn't know. And that's how I ended up on the park commission, and that's how I met a lot of people in the city, was that's how I met Heather Hoff, like from
Mhm.
that random night, people showed up because they wanted to see what was happening, and then they wanted to have their voice heard. It's a little easier when we have a specific project, like a downtown park, like people might come out in droves.
Right.
I feel like it is, when we talk broadly, like the survey you sent out, it's hard because everyone's gonna have a bazillion ideas. Now, when you talk about a space and
Yeah.
people know what they're looking at, they might say, I go there 4 nights a week, and you know what I wish?
Yeah,
Blubbity, blubbity, blah.
That's really, yeah, that's a good.
I don't know what it is, but you know, there's people at McKnight Fields that are there probably every night of the week and probably have great opinions we'd love to hear, but.
Jill and I did not have much success at Music in the Park. You know, it was really hard. People just wanted to sit and listen to music. So sometimes the survey is really a nuisance in a way. Or they're just like, why are you handing me this? I just want to listen to music. And it can be, if there's a creative, fun way to do it, like a wheel and a shorter survey or it wasn't even that long. But wouldn't you say it was kind of like pulling teeth?
It was, it
People
felt like I was a salesperson, that I was
Yeah.
trying to give them, like 15% off windows or something. I mean, they were
Yeah, I
literally
know,
like,
I know.
they're just trying to
I
sell me
know.
something.
So
So
that's one of the
it wasn't,
things to overcome if we're going to combine an event and a survey situation.
Can I offer
Yeah.
maybe a couple suggestions? I like the idea of going to the groups that we're trying to reach. I do like the Holiday Hop idea. I think the location that we've got a captive audience. I have had some preliminary conversations with the school district and also library staff a few months ago. They're more than willing to help out in this endeavor, so maybe there's an opportunity to partner with, go into a school and just talk directly to the and some, or the library has a lot of people that have come in there that maybe a board that's been translated and just kind of back of some kind. When we were talking about the community center with Wold Architects a few months ago, we had stakeholder groups with Fuller, at the senior centers. that was a really interactive way to address that group, because they all really wanted to participate. It was more like events. So you get a lot of really great feedback in that way.
Before Lisa Wong was on the council, when I was on the Environmental Commission, we put in a practice bike trail on Margaret Street. And in order to get people to fill out the evaluation of it, we stood on the street corner. Well, Lisa was not on the council yet, but she came up with the idea and approached us, and she brought boxes of fruit, and I'll give you a peach if you fill out this form.
Okay.
And it was so successful.
So I actually went to an event, it's in a small town in Iowa, and they had, theirs has to do a cat spray painted for business. And if you spray paint it, you go to a specific location. So for a holiday hop, maybe it's something that Parks and Rec throws
Snowflake.
something together, whether it's snowflake or it's a snowman.
Mhm.
And if you can find all the snowmans in the window, and they did take a picture, but if you went and whoever participated was in the window and you found it and you wrote down it was at Newman's or it was at Max, come to City Hall and get your prize, whatever that prize looks like, then you can say, hey, we're doing this for the park. Do you mind taking a moment? It's warm in here. I mean, we don't need to open
Right.
everything. It's just a hallway.
Mhm.
So,
Jill will give you a firm handshake.
exactly.
Thank you.
I have
Firm handshake.
gotten rid of all of the poppets and the bracelets and the.
No prizes.
No.
We gave them all out at the parade.
We have firm
No,
handshake.
but,
That's what
I
we
mean, using City Hall to do something or some activity. My kids are just happy when there's a wheel.
I
Yeah,
know.
right.
Give them
Right.
all
I
the
own a
same
wheel.
thing, but they just
I
want
own a
to
wheel
spin
for
it.
that reason.
And we found it in the shed at the.
Yeah,
The wheel?
I actually bought that. I mean, it can belong to the city.
What about all those ducks? Are you ever gonna use those little rubber ducks anymore?
No, you can.
There we go, we got more.
All the Jeep people coming to that.
He's got-
Randy?
I mean, and,
Andrew?
maybe it's, you just find something holiday related. Maybe it's a North St. Paul ornament of a snowman, something like that. I mean, there are funds that we can tap into instead of, scrounging up something, but holiday hop's not too far away and we still have time to order. It's an idea to get somebody some more interaction, especially during.
Well, I will say, as a plug for the museum, we get all ages.
Yeah.
All
Are
ages.
you offering it up?
Hmm?
Are you offering the space up as a place for?
Yeah, well, we don't have any hard and fast plans. We usually have a table set up. And when my sister was alive and she was real creative, she would teach how to make an ornament or something. And sometimes we just have coloring sheets. We always have refreshments, cookies, and sometimes we have music, but we could certainly set up another table
Yeah.
and do something. Actually, we have an empty display case. We usually put Christmas stuff in there, but we could do a park display. I don't know, something like that if you're interested.
Do we have a goal? Cause I think we had around 300 surveys come in.
Yeah, I guess that would be my question is like, with you guys did do the survey, which is a lot of work, like, what else are we trying? Because my gut would say, like, the next step is, we keep talking about McKnight, that's the next on the list. Like, my gut would be like, we have this space, what do you want to see here? Because I would almost, I don't know, I think people work better and you get better feedback when, when you have a specific goal.
Yeah,
Now,
I agree with
you don't
that.
lead people, but you
Well, you focus their attention. Yeah.
because
But if you
people,
just say parks in general. that's
people are like,
something
I
we
don't
should ignite.
know, I like the park.
No,
Or like,
I
but if
think-
you say, here's this space, and people say,
Yeah.
oh my God, have you guys ever thought about?
And then you'll get the people who are most passionate about that
Yeah.
space as
Right.
well.
You ever get a lot of people say, what is that space?
Well, no,
Where is
but
that located?
Yeah, unless you're playing ball right now, you don't go to McKnight, so nobody knows.
Yeah,
Unless you
right.
play ball.
But we were
Nobody.
talking a couple meetings ago, I would say about 4 months ago, about
Yeah.
how, there's a lot of families there and there's nowhere for the kids to go. And
Yeah.
it's just wandering. So, I
Mhm.
mean, this is the
Climb in the
time.
fence in the abandoned
Mhm.
tennis.
Yes.
Because when we went there to look, they
Yeah.
were.
The kids were
Yeah,
using
they were
the tennis
climbing.
court, yeah.
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 I'm gonna bring us
Yeah.
back
Yep,
and
yep.
then
Thank you.
in time. Okay, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think what I'm hearing is that we definitely want outreach, park-specific outreach. I think the survey may be adequate for our purposes right now.
General purposes, yeah.
Okay, so maybe we just put a pin in any additional, outreach activities until we have a better sense of where we're going, with this plan. And I would ask that now in the next meeting, if you could take a look at it and provide any comments, you can just email me directly, and then I can incorporate those into future drafts.
We were also asking about feedback on the specific parks, like each of us kind of are designated a park or
Yeah.
two. Yep. And so maybe we could each
Great idea.
go to our park and then get back to you on our, like, I'm Housy and,
That would be fantastic.
you know, so that way we could.
And at the
We all don't gotta go to each park, we each have our own park that we're kind of,
And all the parks are covered?
I think they are.
Is that something you could coordinate?
Mhm.
Okay. Perfect.
And a little information on the survey too. There are a lot of questions. They were able to, choose multiple answers. So even in the age category, they could have selected all 4 of them. So kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at.
Can I
the
just ask about the one? It's confusing. Why do you visit parks? Oh, outside, excuse me. Wait, never mind. I was like, what do they mean they visit our parks and go to a splash pad? We don't have one of those. I'm like, who are these people? Now I see.
So
Outside.
we do have a
Sorry,
list of
not trying to-
liaisons, right?
Yeah, so I can look back and
We
see
send
who was
We
assigned.
send it individually to
Were you saying you were done?
each person,
Oh,
let
sure.
us know,
Find out.
because we're
that
missing a
or-
couple, so
That's
yeah.
fine.
like,
Mhm.
Well,
everybody
okay,
knows
okay,
they get
because
along by the
I
November
came
meeting.
on board.
Yeah,
They
and I'm,
can- Or before the November.
And that's
meeting.
okay with me. But if there's one And out that- there, I'll
Okay.
have to.
okay,
That'd be
do that.
My neighbor.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure she
Okay,
has
who
a
has the urban
checklist,
ecology?
so,
That is such
yeah.
a
But
hot
we just-
now. We just put so much left.
Urban ecology, I think it's
So it's.
maybe me and Sue via.
I didn't know that. I
Oh,
was.
no, we aren't. It doesn't have anybody, but I think you and I are the ones that go there, so we're. I live right next
I
to
just
that.
went there. It's lovely.
No, I wanna put like some little small, like nature play, like
Hands
little logs to
down.
crawl on.
It's cool. There's a lot of potential out there.
We could spend 15 grand and make something look really
I
great.
would hear, yeah.
Sorry?
It's cool. Sorry. Leave you go.
I will, sorry, it was a side conversation. I will add one thing. So she was just talking to me about something that made me think. She got stories about Silver Lake and the lifeguards, and there are probably something these parks that maybe isn't documented. And I cannot act. So if there's like a paragraph that needs to be added to these documents, that, you know, in our records, please provide that too, and I can include. As far as that,
Any questions? All right, thank you.
do you need me for anything else today?
thank you.
Thanks,
So
everybody.
this side discussion, can you send out a blanket commission email that just indicates what parts everybody has
Mhm. And
and
do
what
you
parts are
have
not
the
assigned?
checklist? Because you were talking about filling out the checklist.
I'll have to give it to you.
Okay, so, and I'll send that out too, so then you guys will have a sheet to mark off what park has.
And then if there is an unassigned part,
I'm gonna assign something.
What was,
Or I'll do it
what
too.
park
I've
does
watched
Nancy
those.
have?
Nancy had
Well,
Casey.
that's-
She was with,
Nancy,
me.
Casey,
with me.
Nancy,
And I think it's
Wood.
just me and her. I think it was me and her on Casey, so it's just me. And I
We
had
lost
Tower.
Larry, and we lost Heather, and we lost.
And she was.
and
She
I don't
might have
know
been
how
early.
much
She was on
we
Silver,
changed
too.
it. I don't know if we've
Yeah.
ever reviewed that since, so.
No, we haven't reviewed it since.
Well,
I'll see where
give me a
else we
park.
have in.
I don't care.
Good night, everybody.
Oh, thanks.
Randy?
I think urban ecology, you should have it. There's a lot that can be.
We did
adapted.
put it on the plan because we asked to move it up. Because
So
Laura
cool.
agrees too, yeah.
I'm just laughing because, you know, the first time I went in there, there was a mattress on top of
Found a
the hill.
mattress.
Yeah.
You mentioned-
I would have
We
to watch
did give us
them,
a
like, this
mattress,
is
and I
so
took down the
lovely.
tiki torches, unfortunately. There were tiki torches up there, and I'm just like, dry grass everywhere.
Yeah, no.
So I took those down.
But I kind of got a kick out of it. It's kind of creative.
Jill, where are we going next?
We are going to,
I'll be back.
let's do the park rental policy. It should be short. because it's kind of a review of what we went over, last month, where we talked about maybe some changes to try and help with, damages to the building. So I just incorporated them into the park rental policy. So a few things we added as being prohibited, glitter and water balloons and confetti, that type of items. We did add in the 150 alcohol deposit, and that can be set up in the system as kind of a pay later. They can say no when they initially rent in case they're not sure if they're going to have alcohol or not. And then they can actually register for that closer to the date, so at least we're not having that 150 being held for so long. Some people will probably do it just right away. We aren't able to hold on to a credit card, so that initial deposit we just have to take right away. So if everybody is okay with the park rental policy changes, we kept the fees the same. But I just need a motion to recommend that to go to council for approval.
Make a motion, take that policy to council.
Is there a second?
A second.
Second discussion. Favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
It's done.
Good, you're good.
Okay.
All right, Silver Lake,
So these are just a couple, I'm hoping they're quick, depends on how much you wanna discuss it. Silver Lake called, they, had a lot of donations come in for that milfoil treatment, and they're going to do a donor plaque. But they didn't know where it was going, so they didn't know the materials. So kind of looking for suggestions on where a good place to put this, donation plaque
In the park.
in the park.
No,
No,
at
Silver Lake.
Silver.
So on this donor plaque, were there some very large ones? Is that why they're doing this? Or-
Yeah, she didn't give me numbers, so I'm guessing there were certain people that must have donated.
was
I think I could
Well,
get
and-
paid. How?
So speaking of that, how large, what type of plaque? Are you looking at like bricks that they're gonna do? Are they only putting, $1,000 and up on them? I think there's a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions. So I think size would kind of dictate where it goes, but that's what they're trying to figure out, the material, whether it's gonna be under the pavilion or if it's gonna be down by the beach.
I would not put it down by the
They're nice
beach,
to have, but really.
unless you mean like attached to the tennis court or something like that. I don't know. Like when you said near the pavilion, that seems a little,
Mhm.
or near the pier. A little more logical.
Look at Plex as a main.
You know.
I just look at it and say, well, now we gotta maintain this thing.
Yeah.
And it's gonna get,
Well, and they,
like,
no money from us, they just want the material. I'm like, what, even on the back of the buildings for the bathrooms?
Yeah, I was
Can
wondering
see
about
it,
that too.
Because that's not really where the mural is, it's just the blue.
Can it go just on one of the posts for the pavilion?
It could do that too.
there you go.
Where nobody has to mow around something. new.
Right, there's no
Got it.
post, there's another sign,
Mhm.
which people comment about all the signs, so I was thinking
Yeah.
to.
I mean, I would think those posts are big enough.
I'd find out more if I were you,
Find out
just
more.
in regards to everything. I mean, it's,
Mhm. Yeah, no.
find out how
no-
big the sign
no-
is, if not, and then, may I suggest,
Mhm.
maybe a recognition from city council in regards to that, and make it like a.
Instead of the.
Invite
Yeah,
them
plaque.
instead of
here.
the park, okay.
Yeah, that
Put it
might
in
be it.
council.
I mean, I'm not here to make your guys' decisions, but I think maybe
No.
more of a recognition, because I know city council puts money in that. Not that we need to be recognized, because it is our lake. But maybe we can, I mean, it took a lot of people to get where we were for that. I know there were some grants that they got too, but, maybe we recognize them and they get like what's the word I'm looking
city
for?
Well,
A
if it's-
city,
Yeah,
something
if
regarding.
it's the people that I think maybe it is,
Mhm.
that gave a lot, they don't want to be recognized.
A proclamation, that's the
Yeah.
word I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
What if we had a proclamation?
And then instead of having anything at the park, it's,
Yes.
okay.
I mean,
Ask
it
her
would depend on the people, because there are some individuals that want that recognition, you know.
I mean, that's just my personal opinion, a proclamation on, you know, it's just,
And inviting them here.
yeah,
Yeah.
inviting them here
Yeah.
during a city
Yeah, I
council.
like that.
I know that Max, they might want to recognize Max, because some money went from there.
Mhm.
So little things like that, just a thought.
Right,
Okay,
peaceful.
peaceful. I never had heard of this until, the Rotary called me, so they like to, they put a lot of things in the Rotary Park. They're looking for a place that is peaceful. It's in the packet. I put a picture, 6 feet tall, like a 4-inch post, and it just has, may there be peace on earth,
Make peace prevail on earth.
and it's in 4 different languages. They just wanted to check with a general location. I'd probably work mostly with Public Works too, because again, the mowing and, I thought maybe in that kind of holding pond area would be a good size. They don't.
Oh,
mow
that'd
there.
be pretty, wouldn't
And it
it?
would be right by the entrance and people would see it.
Does the Rotary
Where?
Park
Where?
people
By the holding,
paying for that? I mean,
They do, yeah.
oh, okay,
So-
they just wanna donate to
Mhm.
the city and,
Yeah, they
Okay.
also put a little library there, which.
sure.
So we have 2 little
There it is.
libraries.
Forgiveness and ask permission.
I know, lots of benches, so,
And there's a place where you say it wouldn't even hardly need to be mowed around?
right, yeah, kind of like right in the entrance
Oh.
there, there's kind of, it's, we've got plants in there and,
Yeah,
nice.
anger and kind of.
Yeah.
and they're asking, hey, what do you think of this as an idea? That's what we're
Yeah.
trying to say.
Yeah.
As long as
Yep,
the
they just wanna
materials
kinda run
and
it
that
by
won't,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
so if you guys
We're gonna make it.
are okay with
Is it one of
whatever
those
Public Works
PVC ones
says,
that really hold up, or is it wood that needs to be painted?
would,
Oh.
and they would do the maintenance on that.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Peace is good, right?
right near the,
peace is good.
Peace is good.
yeah, right near the trail.
Peace is good.
And
free.
Reports. Commissioner reinstatement.
All right, so we have 2 commissioners that, your tenures are expiring at the end of the year. So just want to reinstate, are you considering in the commission?
Who is that?
Sarah and Artie.
Well, if you don't give me a downtown park, I'm.
Oh,
I'm just.
Sarah, can't function without you.
We'll keep waiting you on.
You sticking
I'm
around?
here.
Okay, okay.
So,
You need to know my.
Next meeting.
Okay.
perfect.
I'll be here.
Okay.
Once that downtown park's built, so you
You're
just wait.
just-
I don't know.
All right, let's go around and see if anybody's got anything else. Ingrid,
No, I don't have any.
Sue?
Well, the only thing I want to mention is something I mentioned before is, I was shown a video of a pop-up, skateboard park. And I think it's the cleverest thing I ever saw. He said it's one of the owners of the Hang Ten. And it doesn't cost that much. And they use, a tennis court, but generally a tennis court that isn't used a lot. And I wanted to get the video myself so I could show you guys, but I don't know, I just think it's something we could think
They have like
about.
portable gear that they bring
Yeah,
in, like ramps and
Yeah,
half
but
pipes
not,
and-
we're not talking big stuff.
Why don't we
It's a-
invite them to a commission meeting?
Wait, so it's a pop-up,
where you gotta
meaning,
be at?
Meaning
It's there
you
for a
can
while
put
and
it
then it's
down and then
gone.
take- Yeah. And I only talked to him for like 10 minutes at a business association. So I don't know
That's
any
great.
more about it than
Hey,
that,
he's been
but,
coming pretty regularly.
yeah, well, this was the other guy.
Oh, okay.
Well, they were both there the other day.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
They're easy to
I
talk
thought, you know, I mean, a regular park costs like $1 million or some ridiculous amount, but this little thing, it looks like it was made out of plywood
They're
and
probably
something else.
mostly plywood, yeah.
Yeah.
I would invite them to a commission meeting.
yeah, now that, what I'm about ready to say does not apply to what you were just talking about, but I did hear some feedback, and this is old, so this is maybe 10 years ago, when we were talking about a skate park, you know, is this one of the things we want to put in? And I knew there's a really cool one down at, Oakdale has one.
Yep.
And I remember at the time, somebody saying, oh, talk to the, there were lots of, there was a lot of bad activity, where these youths congregated. So, I'm not saying I'm down on skate parks, but I'm just saying we should look into, that is just a piece of information I heard a while back, so it might be absolutely obsolete now. Just cautioning me as a parks commissioner, or cautioning the city, maybe you don't want a skate park. Because maybe
Well, I
it will-
don't think I want a regular skate park just because of the cost.
Well,
But the
yeah.
pop-up thing,
The pop-up, and like I said, it doesn't apply to the pop-up thing, because
Yeah.
that would be here and then gone, and it's not
Would-
like,
Let's
In the
invite
interest,
them.
in the interest of time, how about if we, have somebody come in and then we can shoot questions back and forth?
well,
You want me to invite them?
yeah. She's
Okay.
Talk
gonna
to
invite
Jill
him
and get
to
it
a,
on the
yeah, that's
agenda
good.
for next month?
I'm all for
Sure.
saving time.
Oh, we got it.
All right. Anything else, Sue?
no,
Artie?
thank you.
I just want to remind everybody,
I have some.
November 15th is the meeting next month because of Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Sarah?
Just had a question. The big swing at Casey has been out for a long time, the disc
Oh.
swing.
Okay.
So I just want, and then they removed one of the little spring hopper animals a while ago, the frog. He hasn't been there for a long time. So just, I've been getting questions about when are those coming back, and I just wanted to make sure somebody was, if you guys need me to reach out to the builders of the playground to see what suppliers that were, if that's the issue, I'm happy to do that, but, I love that big disc swing, so I don't want
That is
to.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
And I've been
No,
seeing a
I
lot of
know that
comments
was-
of like, things
yeah.
go away and then they don't come back, and I, because I've been reading this as you guys are talking, and I'm just like,
they have
Someone just
ordered
mentioned-
parts, but I don't know for
Yeah.
which ones.
Okay.
Even like the zip line, that zip line should be fixed.
yeah, I didn't know that one was
For
out.
Halloween.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna ask you about that
Is
because
it still broken?
I have no idea. I haven't been there, but,
Yep.
it's a liability to the city, so.
Yeah.
if it's
No,
not-
they,
Oh,
we put
Oh,
those
yeah.
in, and then they'll make notes that the parts
Something
have been
happened.
ordered, and so I'll check that.
All right. Anything else, Sarah?
Yep.
Cassidy?
council's just going through the capital improvement plan, but I will tell you, there's a lot of support for Parks and Rec, so, that's why I keep saying, let's come to the meetings, because I want them, my voice is one voice, you guys rock it, so you guys are the commission, and I appreciate your guys' years of service. I know I've only been here but things are moving in the right direction. It's exciting, this project, the master plan is awesome. I know you guys had some pressure on throwing that all together really quickly. Randy's putting it together, so there's gonna be a comprehensive, well-structured plan, and, with that help, I know it was scattered in the beginning, there were some frustrations, but, hang tight. It's coming together.
When
We're
is the
here.
next council meeting? Is it next Tuesday?
No, it's November 21st.
Oh,
Yeah, we're missing a meeting in November.
So that's
My
after
brain just
our
froze.
next one.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Like,
I don't know
gosh,
why,
just-
what
oh,
time do they start?
When did they get
council's
tests on my
missing it
head?
because it's a voting day, so
Oh.
we can't have it. Yes,
Mhm.
so
And
that's
what
why
time do
it's
your
November.
meetings start?
6:30 is the
Okay.
meeting.
Right, thank you.
Mhm. Here in council chambers.
Oh. See, it came to me eventually. You and I want to get together and figure out a date in December, that, presentation,
Oh,
and then what we're gonna put into it.
so, yeah, there'll be 2 meetings in December for council, there should be. So we can talk about what you guys wanna put in at the November meeting, which is the 15th.
Yeah,
Pick the
we
date.
kinda bang a few things around and then we'll get the final.
The
Okay.
first meeting is, I believe, the approval of capital improvements, so you might
That
want to
was
get us
last.
onto the last.
We'll do the last meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send you all that info.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn,
So move.
so second.
Second that.
Ingrid, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
People said they'd like to see a decrepit tennis court turned into a pickleball court, which is probably housing, so that's good.